has functioned with this attitude of giving has achieved fantastic results. Remember, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was an ordinary student. There was nothing extraordinary about him. But what made that ordinary student, an ordinary man, into an extraordinary Mahatma who went down in history? The 137 years after him, a movie has created a worldwide stir about him, is the fact that he rose above his selfish, self-centered interests and decided to work for the nation. Now you tell me who benefited more, the nation or him? And you think of examples that multiply. On the other hand, there are great geniuses, very, very intelligent people with fabulous academic records, PhD and MBA and this, that and the other from the best universities. Their performance, and their next door neighbor doesn't know them. How do you account for that? So from this, both the positives and the negatives, you learn one thing in life, that if you want to prosper, if you want to be happy, if you want to break free of your own limitations, you have to be able to rally your thoughts around a cause that is greater than yourself. If you don't do that, Hanta, says the Upanishad. Hanta means alas. What a pity. What a tragedy that a human being of such tremendous potential allows himself or herself to go down the drain because of selfish thought. It's not selfish action, selfish thought. So, the attitude of giving is what we're talking about, not acts of giving. Even when we perform worship, even in the field of religion and spirituality, we are all focusing on acts of worship rather than attitude. It's all about which temple did you go to, what puja did you do, what fast did you do. And that too, fast has become a joke now. Yesterday, I heard a lady, she was talking to me. She said, I hear your lectures are starting from today. I said, yes. I'm sorry I can't come because I'm doing, what is that? You all know what it is. Fast. And then she told me what it was. She thought I didn't know. She said, you know, we fast so that we get the same husband for 7 janmas. I said, oh, I see. And then the next sentence she says, I can't come because there is a party to celebrate Karwa Chauth. I said, party? And what do you eat there? All the best food in the world. So then I asked her, I said, who's supposed to fast, you or your husband? Acts of worship. A person who's truly dedicated doesn't have to do any such thing. Doesn't have to fast once a year, because then every year of her life, every moment of her life is dedicated to the husband's welfare. Then why do this additional thing? Not that you should not, but that's what it is. And we all focus on acts of giving, yet the highest forms of giving that have been immortalized were that of Shabari, this mad tribal woman, mad with the love for Ram, where she wanted to give her entire life to Ram and had nothing to give except wild berries. And that too, she wanted to make sure that every one of them was sweet. So she tasted it before offering it to the Lord, and the Lord accepted it. He didn't say, this is jutha, I don't want. He didn't say, this is dirty from a tribal woman. He accepted it wholeheartedly. That's what the Gita says. It says, if you offer whatever it is that you're offering, it's not what you offer that matters. It's not what you do that matters. It is how you do it, with what attitude you do it, that matters. And if you do it with the right attitude, it says, Ashnami prayatatmanaha. It says, I will accept it, whatever it is. The highest forms of giving are Shabari. The highest examples of giving are Sudama, who gave just a handful of poha, beaten rice. And Krishna accepted it so delightfully and enjoyed it so thoroughly. Nothing in his palace, none of the luxurious things that there were in his environment, in his surroundings, matched with this poha that Sudama gave. So, now where does the attitude of taking come from? The attitude of taking comes from a sense of deficiency, lack. You see, all of us have this oppressive sense that of deficiency, that I lack this, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have a million things. And when I don't have so many things and my focus is on fulfilling these desires, how can I think of giving? This is the problem. So what the Gita says is, in order to function with an attitude of giving, first you must shift from this lack to a sense of abundance. Abundance, be aware of the bounty that has been given to you unasked for, of the blessings that you are enjoying this moment, this minute. And when you get into that, when you get into this feeling of acknowledging the gifts that you have been given, unasked for, unpaid for definitely, unacknowledged, ungrateful for. And when you begin to understand all of this, then you stop complaining, you stop thinking about what you don't have, because what you don't, the truth is that what you don't have, you really don't need. But this wretched mind of ours has this tendency to zero in, to set aside everything that you have and zero in on one or two things that you don't have, and it's ridiculous because you really don't need it. The other day, a lady came to me and said, you know, I'd gone to this ashram and I lost my watch. And she's moaning about it for so long. And why is she, so I asked her, I said, was it an expensive watch? No, it was an ordinary watch. Then what are you feeling so bad about? It was given to me as a gift by my mother. But your mother is there, no? The watch may have gone, the mother is there. So why don't you enjoy that? Instead of crying over the watch that was given by your mother. So something or the other we find to cry about. Something or the other we find to complain about. And this is what ruins our attitude of giving. So the moment you understand that you've been blessed with abundance, you will not complain. You won't look for fulfilling yourself through desires. And then you'll have all the time in the world. And your mind will be free to focus on paying back to society, paying back to your family, paying back to the nation, paying back to that divine power that has blessed you with so many things. And this is what is outstanding about all givers. So let's take a brief look at takers versus givers. Number one, takers believe that the world has been created for my pleasure, and therefore I must help myself. Whereas givers believe that the world is meant for all of us, and the giver makes space for everyone. Takers are always functioning out of a sense of deprivation, and so they shamelessly go about grabbing things. Givers are acutely aware of the abundance that they have, and therefore they feel this irresistible urge to share. You know, Sant Tukaram, he was always living in poverty. And one day his children wanted sugar cane to eat. So he went out of his way to get himself some tiny job that he did. And with the money that he got for it, he bought a whole lot of sugar cane, thinking that he'd go home and give it to his children. Now, on the way home, every child who he passed by, he felt, you see, the thing is, he did not feel a sense of separateness between his children and somebody else's children. So the moment any other child came and asked him for sugar cane, he went about distributing the sugar cane. Till in the end, when he went home, he had only one piece of sugar cane. But what is interesting is that one piece of sugar cane, he broke into two and gave them to his children, and his children enjoyed them thoroughly. So this is it. This sense of sharing is something that a giver automatically has. A taker is one who causes wanton destruction around him, to others, and most importantly to himself. Whereas a giver is one who functions in such a way that everybody prospers. He prospers, everyone else around him prospers. A taker always believes that he's right. A giver is one who's open to correction. A taker is always dissatisfied. A giver is always content. Take this example of Shabari and Sudama, two of the poorest people in the world, and yet they were supremely content. Takers are profoundly lonely. They feel this crushing sense of loneliness, even though they're in the company of people. Givers blend and harmonize with all, with any kind of people. Takers are insecure. They always feel that somebody else is going to grab what they have. A giver is never insecure, always secure. Now, this is the most important thing. When you are a taker, your desires increase, means you accumulate garbage. When you're a giver, your desires reduce. So, there are three kinds of actions that the Gita speaks of. The three kinds of actions are niyatam karma, that's the highest quality of action. Niyatam karma means obligatory duty. Kamya karma, desired activity. And nishiddha karma, prohibited action. And throughout the Gita, he keeps saying, the third chapter which speaks of karma yoga, he says, niyatam kuru karmatvam. He exhorts us to perform obligatory duties. Now, the moment we speak of obligation, obligation is associated with drudgery, boredom. How boring. The other day, a young girl came to me and said, you know, we have these youth programs. At one such program, a young girl said, I just mentioned, giving is not necessarily giving money. It could be giving your time. It could be giving your consideration. Like, for instance, when you go and spend time with your grandparents. So before I could complete my sentence, he said, but that's so boring. So, obligation is always associated with boredom and drudgery. And yet, fortunately for me, I didn't have to speak, but all the other youngsters said, but when you do it with the right attitude, spending time with your grandparent gives you so much pleasure. And another youngster said, but you don't realize how much your grandparents did for you when you were young. You don't realize that someday you are going to be in their place. And so, niyatam karma. If every one of us functions on our obligation, there will be no problems in society. There are problems today because all of us are functioning on desire, kamya karma, on whims and fancies, on likes and dislikes. I love this and I hate this. And so you do all the things that you love and you avoid all the things that you hate. When you function on desires, desires mount to such a level that you cannot fulfill them through ethical, normal methods. So you cross the line and perform actions that your own conscience revolts against. This is called nishiddha karma. When you cross the line, then what happens? You get completely captivated like Sita did. Sita fell a prey to desire, and even when she fell a prey to desire for what? The golden fleeting deer. Deer represents sense objects which are golden, attractive, tantalizing, and fleeting, passing. So Lakshmana, who was kept there to protect her, she sent him thinking that Ram was in trouble. So even when he left against his wish, at her bidding, at her command, he drew 3 lines, and they were called this famous Lakshman Rekha. And this Lakshman Rekha is what you yourself think is the line that you should not cross under any circumstances. the line set by your own conscience. But when desire mounts within you, and you're unable to fulfill that desire, you cross that line. And when you cross the line, you're a victim of Ravana, the 10-headed monster representing the 10 sense objects, the world. So this is the state of all of us. And the Gita helps you to gain mastery over yourself with your intellect and to gain mastery over the world with the same intellect. Now, the importance of the intellect is something that we don't realize. How many times, how many thoughts, how many actions are performed bypassing the intellect completely, not consulting the intellect at all. And these are the dangerous moments in your life. So, safety and security is something that we in India just don't understand. So, this intellect needs to be awakened. And when your intellect is awake, you begin to see things that you never saw before. You begin to see where you're going wrong, you begin to see what you need to do, you begin to see a whole new world when your intellect is awakened. And when your conscience is awakened, is much, much more. And that's what the Gita is all about. Now, let's take a look at the entire 8th chapter, take an overview of that before we get on with the verses. The first 4 verses deal with Brahman, Atman, and the world, as we saw yesterday. And then 5 to 7 deals with the principle, as you think, so you become. Verse 5 says, he who remembers, anybody, the person who remembers me at the time of death will come to me. Verse 6 says, this which we'll do now, the same principle applies in the world. Whatever you think of at the time of death, that object or being you will obtain. And in 7 it concludes, beautiful verse that is, Tasmat, therefore, Sarveshu Kaleshu, at all times, remember me and fight. Remember me and fight, don't take it literally. You'll go home this evening and start fighting. Your family members will wonder where you got all this motivation to fight. Fight means act dynamically. So 5 to 7 deal with this principle, as you think, so you become. 8 to 14 deals with how to attain Brahman, the whole spiritual journey. 15 to 22, the 4th topic, deals with rebirth and beyond. And the last topic, 23 to 28, deals with the paths of return, non-return, and direct liberation. So for now, we'll continue with verse 6.